What up and welcome to Rama Screen YouTube channel, and here's my review of Netflix new documentary series Jerry Springer Fights Camera Action. Let's rock this. Okay, so when Jerry Springer passed away a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but I posted on my YouTube channel's community page of how I thought very little of Jerry Springer's legacy because when he was alive, he basically exploited poor people on his show. To which many of you responded with, "Oh, that's not fair, Rama. Jerry was entertaining. It was the guests' fault for being stupid and for airing their grievances on live TV, yada yada yada." And now that I've already watched this brand spanking new docu-series, thanks to Netflix by the way, has my opinion changed since then? Well, kinda. Not much, but kinda. I'll put it this way. My opinion about this documentary is mixed bag, and my opinion about Jerry the show and Jerry himself is also mixed bag. Let's just say that my opinion is no longer as aggressively black and white as it once was 2 years ago. And I'm basing that on the fact that this documentary successfully managed to make the man, the myth, the legend seem more nuanced than any of us ever expected. And to be fair, this docu is actually more about Jerry Springer Show's infamous producer, Richard Dominic, who masterminded the tabloid approach and the gladiatorial atmosphere. Just like anything in life, really, there's always the brain of the operation and the face of the operation. So Dominic is like Wozniak, and Springer's like Steve Jobs, if you will. I don't know if I would categorize this as the great new documentary of the new year, but it most certainly is enlightening, especially for those of us who lived through the 90s pop culture. What we thought we knew isn't the whole picture, and that's kind of mind-blowing. Directed by Luke Sewell, this jaw-dropping premium 2-part series will tell the story of the Jerry Springer Show as it's never been told before. Packed with extraordinary first-hand testimony and revelations from show insiders, the series explores how this daytime talk show became one of the biggest and most outrageous TV hits of the 90s. But behind the entertaining facade lay some darker truths. As we hear from the producers and ex-guests of the Jerry Springer Show, a murkier picture begins to emerge of the destruction it caused, raising renewed questions about who was responsible and how far things should go in the name of entertainment. The only regret is probably the fact that this documentary wasn't made before Jerry Springer's death, because not having his comments in recent years, looking back on his own show, does make this docu feel a bit lacking. Like it's missing its most important ingredient. Sure, it features archival footage of his old interviews and whatnot, but man, it would have been much more valuable if he was also featured as one of the talking heads on this docu, giving his latest 2 cents on it. I think that some shows are incredibly popular because they arrive at just the right time in history, and that is very much true with the Jerry Springer Show. Growing up in the 90s, I can tell you that there was something about that era that felt extra, about that communal experience around the TV set. Credit where credit is due, Jerry Springer tapped into that sense of extra by giving the audiences something different, albeit trashy and despicable and laugh-out-loud hysterical, but at the same time, it was also genius and authentic in a sick and twisted kind of a way. Having said that though, as I was watching this documentary and as they were pointing out some of Jerry Springer Show's most shocking guests and most iconic what the fuck moments, man oh man oh man, some of those episodes would have gone viral if internet viral was a thing back in the 90s. I mean, the show did continue on till about 2018, which was long after social media already arrived, but people's attention, specifically Gen Z's short attention span, have gone away to shinier objects by then. I think one of the revelations brought up on this documentary that I find most surprising is that many of the talking heads confessed that Jerry Springer was a nice guy. Quite possibly the nicest guy that they've ever worked with or worked for. Now that's news to me, and an interesting one I might add, because, well, it's kind of refreshing to know that about him. when talk show business is usually filled to the brim with, asshole hosts or hosts who are dicks to their subordinates, like Ellen DeGeneres or Steve Harvey. Jerry being the nice guy also amplifies Richard Dominic being the puppet master who turned Jerry Springer's show from boring to exciting. This documentary is quite comprehensive. It covers the stressful environment that the co-producers and the employees often felt on a daily basis, all the way to how they negatively impacted their guests. An argument can be made that perhaps this documentary could have easily been just a 2-hour presentation, but breaking it down into 2 parts is actually a lot more helpful, because the first part paints Jerry Springer's show as an underdog, like Rocky Balboa, and we find ourselves oddly cheering them on. But part 2 is where the question of how far is too far gets presented. So you side with them at the beginning, but then part 2 makes you wonder if you should side with them at all. Which is why I said earlier that this docu will most likely have you come to a mixed bag conclusion about Jerry Springer, now that you've got to see how the sausage was made. Now, do I directly blame Jerry and Richard and the entire crew for that one specific murder case? No, I do not. But I think they, as in the show itself, played a small part in the gradual chipping away of America's society fabric that eventually and ultimately leads to today's polarization and division. The us versus them mentality. Shows like Jerry Springer feed off of our worst instincts as humans who thrive on culture wars. Or maybe there's just always going to be more things that divide us than unite us, and we are all just royally fucked. So yeah, overall I give Jerry Springer Fights Camera Action the rating of 3.5 out of 5. There is something admirable about this particular shameless cultural phenomenon. In many ways, it's kind of a trailblazer. But was it a positive trailblazer? That's the $1 million question, isn't it?